Now, in honor of Labor Day, we can't avoid a discussion of unions and Labor Day in general. First, let's start with a historical perspective. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, Oregon was the first in the nation to pass a state law recognizing Labor Day. It happened February 1st, 1887. Way to go, Oregon. Colorado, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York followed Oregon that same year. Congress passed the federal law honoring the day 7 years later. The effort began as a group of workers came together to push for things that we take for granted today, things like an 8-hour workday. And full disclosure, I'm a union member. I've been part of SAG-AFTRA for 32 years. In fact, all the reporters and anchors at KGW here are part of the same union. Here's a snapshot of union membership in America brought to us for the year 2021 by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In 2021, the number of workers belonging to unions nationwide fell by 241,000 people compared to the year before. That's a number of 14 million. The union membership rate was 10.3%. Back in 1983, the first year with numbers that we can compare, there were 17.7 million union workers with a membership rate of about 20.1% of the workforce. The union membership rate for people who work in the public sector, things like government, 33.9%, more than 5 times the private sector, which is about 6.1%. The highest unionization rates were among workers in education, training, and library occupations. But things may be improving for unions. The National Labor Relations Board, which is part of the federal government that handles all things union, reports that requests for union elections were up 58% over the first 9 months of the fiscal year in 2022 compared to the year before. And just to scramble our brains, their fiscal year starts in October. No idea why people do that, but they do, so there you go. The NLRB points out unfair labor charges against companies were also up 16% over the same period. Now, against that backdrop, President Biden was out and about today and said support for unions in America is super strong.
Well, I'm encouraging unions. That's what I've been doing from day one. It includes for public service sector workers in Wisconsin as well. Today, support for unions in this country is higher than it's been in nearly 60 years.
Oh, okay. I decided to check in locally and see if that feels accurate here. Dan Clay is president of the United Food and Commercial Workers 555. He represents 30,000 members across 4 states and is headquartered in Portland. His union is trying to unionize 4 different New Seasons stores right now in our area. One in Hillsborough just voted overwhelmingly no. Clay does not think that vote was fair, and he's challenging it. He said his union has added about 10,000 workers over the last 10 years. Good for you. I asked him about the president's comments.
I don't think that's my experience. I think the movement's very much hampered by federal labor law. I think when Biden talks about the movement being stronger than ever, I think the need for the movement to be strong is greater than ever. But with these, but with the laws the way they are, it's a really tough environment to be able to organize, whether that's Starbucks or a New Seasons or Amazon.
So that's interesting. What he's saying is that federal laws, which maybe could be changed by the Democratic president who says he's a friend of labor, those laws make it hard to bring a union into a company. Let's drill down for a moment to hear why.
The process is you have to show that a certain group of people do want the union, and then the employer has 2 or 3 months in many cases to go out and wage war, and that makes it real tough for workers to get to the finish line, because most people that are organized, they aren't people like me that have dedicated my life to the labor movement. They're folks, they want to go to work. They want to make a living. They want to have a roof over their heads for them and their families. And they want to have a life. And they don't want to go out and spend all their time fighting over elections and those kinds of things. And so if you look at the rules are really favoring employers at this point. And until we get a rewrite on some federal law, I think that's how it's going to be.
So I guess sort of a reality check there on this Labor Day. Lots of people apparently support unions if you ask them, but not that many actually take part in them. By the way, I just looked at a recent Gallup poll report that states however one does the calculations, the trend in union membership is down, not up. That reflects what our local union president there, Dan, was saying. You might be hearing more about unions because the spotlight is shining on Starbucks and Amazon and others where workers are trying to unionize. But the facts are, the union movement is not growing in America. Happy Labor Day.